Hey, today I'm going to walk you through how to crochet Axel, the axolotl. Axel can be made in sport, DK, or plush weight yarn by adjusting your hook size. Today I'm going to be crocheting it with worsted weight yarn and a 4mm hook. Remember, depending on the weight of the yarn you choose, you may need to change your hook size and accessories like safety eyes. If you haven't already, be sure to snag the matching greeting card to make an adorable and one-of-a-kind gift that your friends and family will love. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're starting on the body and head of Axel, and we need to begin by tying a slip knot and chaining some stitches. So let's review how to get a slip knot formed and how to make our first chain stitch. Alright, so let's review how to tie a slip knot and how to form a chain stitch. So we're going to take our yarn, and I'm using white for this demonstration, so just double check you're using the correct color from your pattern. And we're going to reserve ourselves a little bit of a tail, just like we do with our magic ring. So I'm going to take maybe 5 or 6 inches or so of my working yarn here, make myself a little tail, and then we're going to take that tail and we're going to wrap it behind our working yarn. So we're sort of making like a lowercase letter B. So once we've got that wrapped around, we formed this loop here. We're going to kind of sandwich the working yarn with the tail. So bring it back around and kind of cross it over that loop. Sort of like a pretzel twist. Then when we've done that, what we need to do is draw this twist that we've just done, that strand, through this loop without pulling the tail all the way through, because that would just tie a knot. So I take my hook hand, which is my right hand, and I grab what I've laid over that loop and pull it, and then with my other hand I grab my working yarn and then pull the loop through. And the reason I form my slip knots this way is because they tighten when you pull on the tail, but not when you pull on the working yarn. It won't tighten while you're trying to add stitches to it. So once you've got that slip knot formed, you're going to take your hook and slip it inside of the slip knot, and then pull the tail to tighten it into a loop down onto your hook. Then you're ready to begin tensioning by laying the working yarn over your yarn index finger. So for me that's my left index finger. And then wrapping the rest of your fingers around our working yarn. And then I like to hold on to the slip knot itself with my middle and thumb on my yarn hand. And then we're ready to form a chain. So to chain, we'll take our hook and we're going to yarn over, meaning we're going to put the yarn over our hook, and then draw the working yarn through the slip knot we tied, and then pull up to form a nice tall loop. So that's our first chain. To continue chaining, we're going to just keep yarning over and drawing a nice tall loop through each time. One final thing though, the loop on your hook, as I'm sure I may have mentioned in the video before, that doesn't count as a stitch. This is sort of like a stitch in progress. So right now I have 2 chain stitches formed. I'll yarn over and draw another stitch through. That'll be 3, 4. And as you add chain stitches, I tend to move my middle and my thumb up closer to my hook to help me sort of tension my yarn a little easier. So as I chain, I just keep shifting my hand down the stitches that I've just created. Alright, so that's how you tie a slip knot and chain. Alright, so now that we have our slip knot formed, we're ready to start on round 1. And if you look at the top left-hand corner, you'll see the instructions for round 1, and all of the rounds of this pattern will be there for your reference. So feel free to check the top left or to use the written pattern that you already have access to. Alright, so for round 1, we need to start by chaining 7 stitches. Alright, so now that I have all 7 of my stitches chained, I'm going to put up my first single crochet stitch in the second chain from my hook. So remember, we don't count the loop on our hook, so we're going to count over 1, 2 chain stitches and go through that second chain. Then to make our single crochet stitch, we're going to yarn under. So we're going to put the yarn underneath our hook and draw it through that chain stitch. And then yarn over, so put the yarn over our hook and draw it through the 2 loops left on the hook. And that forms our first single crochet stitch, which we also need to mark. Alright, there's our first single crochet. We're going to make 4 more. So there's my second. Alright, I have all 5 of my single crochet stitches down my chain, and in the last stitch of my chain, which is technically the slip knot that we tied, we're going to place an increase. So we're going to put 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch here. So there's my first. I'm going to go back through that same spot and make a second single crochet. Then we're going to be working down the other side of the chain here. So we're kind of swing the chain around. And we're going to be putting 1 single crochet stitch in the other side of those 5 stitches. So we'll sort of flip around, grab that first chain on the other side, and then continue single crocheting down. And here's my last. And that wraps up round 1. So we're ready for round 2, where we've got some parentheses with some instructions inside. So what those parentheses mean is that we need to make everything inside of them in the order they appear, the amount of times indicated on the outside of the parentheses. So we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of our round, which is marked. So we'll slip that marker out and make 1 single crochet stitch in that same stitch. And remark that stitch. And then in the next stitch of the round, we need to increase. So we're going to put 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch. And that's everything in the parentheses once. We need to repeat that pattern of 1 single crochet, increase 5 more times until we are all the way around round 2. Alright, that's round 2 done. I'm ready for round 3, where we've got another set of parentheses. This time we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches. So there's my first, and I'm going to mark it. And 1 single crochet stitch in the next stitch, and then an increase. And I'll repeat that pattern 5 more times for a total of 6. So 1 single crochet stitch, 2 single crochet stitches, increase. Alright, that's round 3 done. For round 4, we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. Following that with an increase. And then we've got another parentheses pattern to repeat. We're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches. And then increase. And we're going to repeat that pattern another 4 times for a total of 5 repetitions. Alright, so I've got 2 stitches left in my round, and I need to put 1 single crochet in each. And that wraps up round 4. So for rounds 5 and 6, we need to put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 30 stitches that we just created for round 4. So that's just 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. And then don't forget, you need to move your stitch marker up as well. So I will see you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 6. Alright, so I just finished round 6 and I'm ready for round 7, where I'm going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of the round. And then I'll increase in the next stitch. And then repeat that pattern 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions. Alright, that's round 7 done. Round 8, we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. And then increasing in the next stitch. Then we've got a parentheses pattern to repeat, so we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 5 stitches. And then increase. Then repeat that pattern 4 more times for a total of 5 repetitions. And then we'll finish this round by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the last 3 stitches. Alright, so for rounds 9 through 15, all we need to do is put 1 single crochet stitch in every stitch all the way around. So just like with rounds 5 and 6, don't forget to move your stitch marker up at the beginning of each of the new rounds. And I will see you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 15. Alright, so I've just finished the last single crochet stitch of round 15, and I'm ready to place the safety eyes, and they're going to go between rounds 12 and 13 and about 5 stitches apart. So before we place the eyes, if Axel is going to be a gift for a small child or a pet, you may want to embroider the eyes on instead, but if not, you can go ahead and place safety eyes along with me. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to pull the loop on it fairly long and take my hook out so I have an easier time placing the eyes. Then I'm going to take my work and I'm going to take where that loop is and flip my work so that's at the back. And then we started with a chain, so we want to make sure that chain's sort of sitting so that it's like facing horizontally here, and the face is going to be along one side of it and the back is going to be along the other side of it. Once we've got it positioned how we need it to be, we can go ahead and take our first safety eye and we can count up from this last row, which was row 15, up to row 13. So 15, 14, 13. And then I'm going to go over 1, 2 stitches and place that first eye. And then take my second eye and count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. And then place that second eye. And then double check that I have them centered on the face. I'm going to actually scoot both of them over a stitch to my left here, so that they are centered along the top of the head. Alright, so once you've got them where you'd like them, you can take the little plastic backs that come with them and snap them on the inside by pushing them onto that post. And there are the eyes attached, so we can continue crocheting around. So I'm going to put my hook back through that loop I drew up long and draw my working yarn down. And I'm ready for round 16, where we've got a new kind of stitch that we need to learn. So for round 16, we're going to start with what we know. We'll put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 5 stitches of the round. So there are my first 5 single crochet stitches, and then we need to decrease. So to do a decrease, we're going to go through our next stitch, yarn under and draw up a loop. And then do that exact same thing in the stitch right after. So go through, yarn under and draw up a loop. Then we'll yarn over and draw through all 3 remaining loops on our hook. So that's 1 repetition of everything inside of those parentheses. We're going to continue repeating that pattern another 5 times all the way around. Alright, that's round 16 done. Round 17, we're going to begin by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of the round. And then a decrease. Then we're going to repeat that pattern 5 more times all the way around. Alright, that's round 17 done. We're ready for round 18, where we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. And then we're going to decrease the next stitch. Then we're going to repeat this pattern of 1 single crochet decrease 9 more times for a total of 10 repetitions. Alright, so I just wrapped up the last decrease of round 18. I'm ready for round 19. We're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. And then decrease. And then we're going to repeat that 4 more times for a total of 5 repetitions. Alright, so that was the last stitch of round 19. Before I move on to round 20, I'm going to add some stuffing to the inside of the head here. So I'm going to pull this last stitch long and take my hook out. And then just push some stuffing to the inside through the opening here at the bottom. Alright, so that is some stuffing inside the head. We're ready to continue working, so we can put our hook back through and draw that loop down. And then for round 20, we're going to be working in the front loops only. So we're going to start by putting 2 single crochet stitches, 1 in each of the next front loops. So to work in the front loop, we've been working through both. I'm going to put both loops here on my hook. You can see there's 2 actual loops here to the stitch. The one closest to the bottom of my hook here and the surface of our work is called the front loop. This one here, closest to the inside and the stuffing we just added, is the back loop. So for all the stitches here in round 20, we're going to be just working in this front loop only. So we'll start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 front loops. And of course, mark that first stitch. And then in the next front loop, we're going to increase. And then we're going to repeat that pattern of 2 single crochet stitches in the front loops, increase in the next front loop, all the way around. Alright, that's round 20 done for me. Round 21, we're back in both loops, front and back for each stitch. We're going to begin by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches. And then an increase. And then we're going to repeat that sequence another 4 times for a total of 5 repetitions all the way around. So 1 single crochet stitch the next 3, and then an increase. Alright, so I just did the last increase there in round 21. For round 22, we'll start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches. And then an increase. And then repeat that sequence another 4 times for a total of 5 repetitions all the way around. Alright, so that was the last increase there for round 22. For rounds 23, 24, and 25, we're just going to put 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. So don't forget to move your stitch marker up at the beginning at each of those rounds, and I'll see you back here whenever I have finished round 25. Alright, so I just finished round 25 and I'm ready for round 26. We're going to start by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of the round. And then decreasing. And then we're going to repeat that sequence all the way around. Round 27, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 24 stitches we created in round 26. So it's just one single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Round 28, we're going to start by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to decrease. And then repeat that sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions. Round 29, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. And then decrease. And then repeat that sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions. Before we make round 30, which is our last round of single crochet on the body, we're going to add some more stuffing to the inside here. So let's pull that last stitch long, remove our hook, and then just push some stuffing through in the opening at the bottom of the body here. Alright, there's the bottom of the body stuffed. Let's go ahead and put our hook back in and tighten down. And then for round 30, we're just going to be decreasing in each stitch all the way around. So 6 decreases. Don't forget to mark that first one. Alright, so there was my last decrease. I'm ready to fasten off. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out and make a slip stitch in the next stitch, the one the stitch marker was just in. So I'm going to go through, yarn under, and drop a loop, and then draw the loop I just created through the only other loop on my hook to slip stitch. Then we can go ahead and cut our working yarn with a small tail, maybe 6 inches or so. And we'll take that loop on our hook and pull it until the tail we just cut passes all the way through it as well. And then we'll tighten that down. Then to close up this opening here at the bottom of the body, we're going to take that tail that we just cut, thread it through the eye of our tapestry needle, and then we're going to sew through the front loops of each of these 6 decreases all the way around. So we'll snag the first front loop, rotate, get our next, until we've sewn through all 6 of these front loops. Once you've sewn through all 6, you can pull that tail tight to close off that last round. And then to secure that closed, we need to tie a knot. So I like to loop my tail over the surface of my work, sew up through some of that last stitch that I sewed and cinched closed, and then also up through that loop. And then by pulling, that loop's going to wrap around and tie a knot. And I'll weave this tail in by sewing it down close to that knot and then out through the body. When you pull this tail tight, it pulls the knot to the inside and hides the tail inside of your work too. Then you can pull the tail tight and trim and discard anything you didn't end up using. And that is the head and the body done. Alright, so next up we need to make the tail, and we're going to begin by forming another magic ring. And we're ready for round 1, where we're going to put 4 single crochet stitches inside of this magic ring. Alright, when you have all 4 of your single crochet stitches, you can pull the tail to close off round 1, which sets us up for round 2, where we're going to start by putting an increase in the first stitch of the round. And we're going to want to mark the first stitch of the increase, because that's the first stitch of the round. Then we'll put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of the round. And that wraps up round 2. For round 3, we're going to begin with another increase. Then we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the remaining 4 stitches of the round. That's round 3 done. Round 4, again, starting with another increase. And then 1 single crochet stitch in the remaining 5 stitches of the round. That's round 4, round 5, again starting with another increase. Then we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the remaining 6 stitches of the round. Right, that's round 5 done. At this point, I'm going to cut the magic ring tail to keep it out of my way as I keep working around. And we're ready for round 6. We're going to put, again, another increase in the first stitch of the round. And then 1 single crochet stitch in the next 7 stitches. Alright, that's round 6. Round 7, we've got a parentheses pattern to repeat. So we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches. And then an increase. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times for a total of 3 repeats. Okay, that's round 7, and then round 8, which is the last round. We'll put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. and then increase. And then just keep repeating that pattern of one single crochet, increase. Alright, so there's the last stitch of that last round. We're ready to fasten off, so we'll take our stitch marker out and slip stitch to the stitch that our marker was just in. And then we can cut a tail to sew with. So we'll just cut our working yarn and then pull that loop that's on our hook until the tail we just cut pulls all the way through too. And then we can tighten that slip stitch down by pulling the tail to tie a knot. And then we don't need to stuff the tail, we can just sew it directly onto the body, but I'm going to add just a little stuffing. And then we can add the tail to the body by grabbing the body that we've already made, and we're going to be attaching it along the bottom of the body here. So we'll take our tail that we've cut, thread it through the eye of our tapestry needle, and then we're going to attach it directly to the bottom of the body, and then just sew it on by grabbing some of the fabric from the bottom of the body and then up through one of the stitches from the last round of the tail. And we'll just keep working our way around, sewing each stitch of the tail to the body. Alright, so I've just sewn the last stitch and I'm ready to secure the tail with a surface knot. So I'm going to loop the tail I've been sewing with over the surface of my work and sew up through some of the fabric of the body and then through that loop that I've tied, which forms a surface knot. And then we can weave this tail in by sewing it through the fabric of the body and pulling. Then we can unthread our needle and by trimming close to the fabric of the body, weave that tail in. Next, let's go ahead and get the mouth embroidered on. So we can get a little bit of black embroidery thread. So I have my black embroidery thread threaded through the eye of my tapestry needle. And we're going to sew the mouth on so that it's in between the eyes. So I'm going to go down in between the space between some stitches here with my needle. So trying not to snag any of the fabric of any of those stitches, just right through between some of them. And then let's come up over here next to the left eye. And then we're going to leave a tail on the outside of our work because we're going to tie the two tails together to secure the smile at the end. So to make our smile, let's sew a little corner down here. So we're going to go from the top of this row to the bottom of this row and a little bit of an angle here. And I'm going to repeat that same stitch on the other side. So I'm going to sew down. And then I'm going to come up through the stitch I went down through on the left side of the smile. And we're going to sew just a straight stitch in between these two curves to finish the smile off. And then we need to sew back up through that space that we came down through, being careful not to snag any of the fabric while we do this. So you can see that forms the smile. Then I can unthread my tapestry needle, and I'm going to take these two tails and tie them together to secure the smile. And I like to tie a double knot just for extra security. Then we can cut these two tails pretty short. And to hide this out inside of Axel's head, we can take our tapestry needle and hook it underneath the stitch next to where those tails are and pull the fabric up, and that hides it out inside of the fabric of the body. Alright, so there is the smile and the tail attached. Let's move on in our pattern. Alright, so next up is the belly, and we're going to begin by forming a slip knot and chaining some stitches, just like we did on the body and the head. And we need to chain 5 stitches. Alright, Alright, so when we have our 5 stitches chained, we're going to start in the second chain from our hook and place an increase. So we're going to count over 1, 2, and increase in this first chain. And let's go ahead and mark that as well. Then we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches. Then we'll put 3 single crochet stitches in the last chain, which is our slip knot. So 3 single crochet stitches in the same place. So next we need to kind of flip around the chain and then place 1 single crochet stitch going down the other side of the chain in the 3 stitches that we single crocheted in on the first side. So we're going to flip around here, swing our hook over to grab that first chain stitch, and place a single crochet, and then 1 in the next 2 chains as well, which takes us to our stitch marker, and we're going to place a slip stitch in that first stitch, the one that we have marked. And then we're going to chain 1 stitch. Then for round 2, which is our last round here on the belly, we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round, then an increase in the next, then 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches, then an increase, 1 single crochet, repeat that a second time, so 1 increase, 1 single crochet, then 1 single crochet, an increase, and then we're going to slip stitch to that chain 1 we made, to close off that round. And that completes the belly, so we can cut a tail here, then pull that last slip stitch through and tighten down. And then we can either use this tail or some paste to attach the belly onto Axel's body. So I'm going to paste mine on. So I'm going to start by cutting this tail here on the underside of the belly short. And then I'm going to weave this longer tail in so it's out of my way whenever I glue the belly on. So I'm just going to send it along the back side of some of these stitches, just by sewing through the back sides of them here. Then I can unthread my tapestry needle and cut that tail. And then this is ready to be attached to the body. So I'm just going to add a little bit of paste to the back side of this belly patch here. And then I'm going to affix it to the front so it's centered underneath the smile and the eyes. And that is the belly patch attached. Alright, next up we need to make the arms and the legs, and we'll need to make 4 of these. So I'll walk you through how to make the first, and then you'll need to make 3 more, and we can come back and get them attached on together. So we'll start by forming another magic ring. Then for round 1 we're going to put 6 single crochet stitches inside of this magic ring. Once we're done with those 6 single crochet stitches, we can pull our tail. And then for round 2, which is the only other round, we're going to just put one single crochet stitch in each of the 6 that we made for round 1. Alright, so there is my second round done. To finish off the arm or leg, depending on whatever you're making, we're going to slip stitch to that first stitch of round 2, and then cut a medium length tail to sew with, and pull and tighten the slip knot down. I also like to pull the magic ring tail tightly one last time, and then trim it short, and then tuck in any extra inside of the arm. And that is one of them done. We need to make 3 more, and then we can get them attached to Axel's body. Alright, so I have all 4 of Axel's limbs made, and I'm ready to get them attached. So I'm going to start with 1, and we'll begin with the arms. So let's get the tail we've cut started through the eye of our tapestry needle. And then to attach them, I'm going to start by putting the arm sort of right up where the head and the body meet, and then just a little bit to the outside of the eyes. And to attach them, we're just going to do like we did with the tail. Sew through some of the fabric of the body, and then through one of the stitches from the last round on the arm. And we're going to do that all the way around. Alright, once you're all the way around, we can tie another surface knot. And weave the tail in just like we've done with the tail on the bottom of the body. We just sew it through and out through a spot on the body. And then cut. And that is one of the arms attached. So the other arm's going to go on the other side and get attached in the same way. And then the legs are going to go on towards the bottom of the body. And they're attached the exact same way too, just by sewing through each of the 6 stitches left at the end of that second round. So I will see you back here whenever I have all of the limbs attached, and then we can move on to the next part of the pattern. Alright, so I have his arms and legs attached, and I'm ready to move on to the last part of my pattern, which is to make the gills. So we're going to be using this sort of darker pink color yarn, and we need to make 6 of them. So I'll walk you through how to make the first, and then you need to make 5 more so that we can get them attached. So we're going to begin again by forming another magic ring. Then for round 1, we're going to put 6 single crochet stitches inside of this magic ring. Alright, once you have all 6 single crochet stitches inside your magic ring, you can pull the tail. Then for round 2, we've got a parentheses pattern to repeat. We'll put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. Then an increase in the next stitch. Then we're going to repeat that pattern 2 more times. So 1 single crochet stitch in the next stitch, and then an increase after. Then for rounds 3 and 4, we just need to put 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. So remember to move your stitch marker up as you start the next round. And I'll see you back here whenever I've finished round 4. Alright, so I just finished round 4, and I'm ready for round 5, which is the last round of the gill, where I'm going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. and then decrease, then repeat that 2 more times. So 1 single crochet stitch, decrease. Alright, and I'm all the way around and I'm ready to fasten off. So I'll take my marker out, slip stitch to where it just was, and then I'm ready to cut a tail to sew with. Pull that last stitch long until the tail goes through, and then tighten it down. Then we also need to sew this last round closed, so we'll thread that tail through the eye of our tapestry needle. And just like with the bottom of the body, we'll sew through the front loops of each of the 6 decreases that we made. Then pull tight to close that last round off, and we need to tie a surface knot. However, we don't need to weave this tail in because we're going to be using it to sew the gill onto Axel's head. So there's 1 done. We need to make 5 more for a total of 6, and then we can get them attached. Alright, so I have all 6 of the gills made, and I'm ready to get them attached onto Axel's head. So I'll start with just 1, and I'll take the tail left over from when we crocheted and get it threaded through the eye of my tapestry needle. So the gills are going to get attached onto the sides of the head, and there'll be 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And I'm going to start by attaching the one in line with the eyes first, and I'll show you how to attach this one, and then we can go through how the others are positioned, and then we can sew them all on. So I'll start by sewing down and into the fabric of the side of the head in line with the eye on the right hand side here. Then I'm just going to come back through the back side of the gill, going through both layers of the fabric. I'll pull pretty tight, and then I'm going to sew that same stitch a few more times just to make sure it's really secure. And then this time I'm going to come up right behind where the gill is, attached to the head, and pull that yarn pretty tight. And then I need to tie a surface knot. I'm going to do it right behind where the gill is here. Then I can weave that in by sewing through the head and out through just any old place. And then I can cut that tail short. So that's how the gills are attached. We're going to need to repeat that with the other 2 gills on this side, and then the 3 on the other side of the head. So I'll see you back here once I have all of my gills attached. Alright, so I have all 6 of my gills attached. Last thing we need to do is add the cheek details. So I'm using the same colored pink I used on the gills. And I'm going to thread it through the eye of my tapestry needle. And then the cheek detail is going to go on the outside of either eye. So just like with the smile, we're going to start by sewing down through some of the stitches, trying not to catch any of the fabric. And I'm going to start by sewing this first cheek detail. So I'm going to come up over here on the outside of the left eye, and then leave a tail on the outside of my work. And I'm just going to sew over 1 stitch and down through. And then repeat here on the other side, the other eye. So there's 1 cheek detail. Also that same stitch over here. And then come up through that same place I went down through, being careful not to get any of the fabric of my work. So you can see there are the cheeks added. Then I can unthread my tapestry needle, and just like with the smile, we'll tie these two strands together. Then cut them pretty short. We could take our tapestry needle and just tug the fabric of the work up where that knot is, which takes it to the inside. And that is Axel's tutorial done.